Hey everybody, welcome to the Crohn's Fitness Food Podcast, dedicated to raising awareness, sharing IBD stories, and offering support for those with Crohn's and colitis. Together, we can share knowledge, experiences, and help show the world the many faces of IBD. Well, hi everyone. Thank you for joining me today for another episode of the Crohn's Fitness Food Podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Gish, Crohn's warrior since 2006 and lifelong fitness fanatic. My guest today is Aras Toker, who was diagnosed with Crohn's disease in 2008. He's here to share his story from worsening symptoms and surgery to seeking the help of a naturopathic doctor to take back control of his health. Thank you so much for joining me today, Aras, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm privileged to be here. I'm excited to talk about things and hopefully help other people that are going through this journey and help them throughout with some of the things that we can share together here. Thank you for inviting me.
I appreciate you taking the time, and I'm excited to have you here. So why don't we go ahead and we'll just jump right into the interview. And why don't you start by sharing your Crohn's story and a little bit about how you were diagnosed?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the diagnosis started in 2008. To give you guys a little bit of context, I was in New York City. This was right around the financial crisis. I was in Wall Street actually working in that crazy lifestyle, putting probably 70 to 80 hours. Also my kind of background, I'm an immigrant to this country. I was in this situation that I had a work visa that was unstable, even though I'm obviously, I was legal, but then, if you lose your job, you may have to go back to your country. All that stress coupled with, being in the financial crisis, our company was in the brinks of being bankrupt. And then all that stress, I think, was the main reason why that environment actually created incredible amount of stress that led to the initial diagnosis of Crohn's, which it wasn't coincidence that I think that winter of 2008, a few months after I moved there, I was diagnosed. But the precursor to that, later on, I kind of pieced the puzzle together where I basically, I'd taken a lot of antibiotics. And when I was a teenager, I was taking this medication called Accutane for acne. And it's I did not know that it was an antibiotic. It was, heavy one anyways. And then I was, at the time I thought I was lucky I had access to get that medication in a kind of a high dosage way, and I was taking it for 6 months. And obviously it felt good at the time. I cleared my skin, but little did I know at the time that I was messing around with my microbiome by taking these antibiotics. But that's the precursor. It didn't happen right then. I was probably 18 years old when that happened, but fast forward about probably 6 years from that point on, and then just I was able to, when in a stressful environment, it really triggered the initial gut inflammation, and then all the symptoms that pretty much any Crohn's disease people will feel. I start feeling them, and the whole journey started then. And what's interesting is about the story. I followed the Western medicine, and I actually believe in it still. At one point, that I do believe that medication, there's a purpose for it, and I think it helps a lot of people, especially for people that have severe diseases or symptoms. And then I had, even though it started mild, I had a really severe case of Crohn's. So then it progressively got worse and worse. And my hope was that medication was going to be the result, but it didn't. My body was creating antibodies against these drugs as high as Humiras and the Remicades of the world. And when I hit those, and you literally, the impact wasn't that.
Did they start you on biologics immediately after that initial diagnosis? Is that when you first started?
We started very slow, actually. Before we got to the biologics, we tried steroids. We tried the other non-steroidal aids that we wanted to get in, but none of them. Even though immediately it helped me, to be honest, Stephanie, but then within a week or so, I started seeing the symptoms again. And then the doctor then we'll up the either dosage or change it to different things. And at the end, probably after a year of going through these other medications, we started the first Remicade round in New York City, and then this whole journey. I want to. It's been interesting because I throughout, and I had an opportunity to move back to San Francisco with my company. Thankfully, I was able to do that to be close to my family. A lot of my family is in San Francisco, where I reside now. But that being in somewhat of a comfort zone, I was hoping that I could, heal the gut. But actually, the symptoms eventually got worse to the levels that my body created a fistula through the colon to my sacrum area in the lower back. So what that meant is this is 2014 now, and I was kind of getting by and doing the medications, and even though it wasn't working, I was like, okay, I can kind of manage this as much as I can. But after that incident, where literally the back pain that I was feeling, where I couldn't basically stand more than 10 minutes, I had to sit down. It was just like a really excruciating pain. Then we had to figure out another option, and that's when the doctors, since it was leading to be an infection, it was getting really dangerous. They decided they recommend that I should have a surgery. That surgery was basically for me to they get in there and try to get rid of that area that is connected to the fistula. Fistula is this little piece, by the way, for the people that are not aware what that is. Your body creates this little connection between the colon and the area that it connects to. In that case, it was connecting to a bone, and it was making the bone getting infected, and that's what they had to operate. It was not, medication was not going to solve that problem. And we gave the green light. I had to go through surgery. And then what that meant was they basically rerouted my digestive tract from the colon side and kind of let that area relax and heal itself, where at the same time I had to basically live with a ostomy bag. So I had to have a colostomy surgery. And that's the time, to be honest, I would say probably the rock bottom, because at the time I thought the way things kind of progressed, it was not healing. And even with the colostomy bag, I was feeling inflammation. The markers did not go down. Just for the people that care about numbers and inflammation markers, I'm happy to share those. There's two markers that a lot of the GI doctors looked at for me. One is the SED rate. The other one is the CRP rate. And CRP is a certain protein, basically, that they can find out in the blood. And then if it's elevated, obviously those are markers of inflammation. For me, it was, I think, an average person, a normal person's CRP rate will be less than a 1 milligram. And for me, it was about 10 or 11. So it was 10x more. And the SED rate, which is basically the number of red blood cells they put in a tube, your red blood cells, and they look at in an hour how quickly they go down in the tube. So they measure that I think it's a millimeter. And again, the regular range will be less than 15 millimeters per hour. So that's the amount. And then I was hitting around 65, 70. So yeah, I'm trying to convey how severe it was. And they had to kind of, figure out, okay, what else can we do? Aside, clearly, Remicade is not working, Humira is not working. And then they gave me this, they offered, this is like the third GI doctor now. I was kind of changing, trying to figure out, if I could establish different relationships. And this other doctor was basically saying that there was a new drug called Sabri, and that may help things. And but the only thing was, I was reading the side effects. It had one in 1,000 chance of brain tumor, and that was the kind of a tough one to swallow. And it was end of the year. I was like, okay, maybe this is the time I draw the line in the sand. And say, hold off for this medication for now. And I'm not the person who will say, I'm anti-medication. I'm not that guy. But for me, it wasn't working, and I had to figure out another way. And I think that all the signs were kind of pointing in that way, that okay, there has to be other way to heal this. I didn't want to accept to live with the colostomy bag and not believe that I cannot reduce the inflammation.
And so what happened since then? Because it sounds like it was about 6 years that you were struggling with medications and then the surgery, and then you reached this point. So what kind of avenue and path did you go down to start researching where you're at now? Because you took in, you're medication free now, and so you went down this big path. Tell me a little bit about that process and how that all evolved.
It was an interesting and eye-opening and life-changing, is I would use kind of an experience for me. And from just researching about kind of looking at things more holistically and understanding what's happening in the body, and it piqued my interest to find out, not just looking at the symptoms, but let's get to the root cause of things. And that research led me to kind of seek out naturopathic integrative medicine doctors. And in San Francisco, I was fortunate enough to find one that is specialized in gut health. And I came across this doctor, and she was incredible. Like we had this amazing session where we talked about all kinds of things, not just diet, not just exercise, but like, what I've been taking and how I've been feeling too. And we looked at the stress levels a lot. So from that initial intake, she was able to put me in a regimen for about 6 months, Stephanie. I think what was interesting is, she explained it to me, how it actually will, like, your stress levels are going to be a huge trigger to the Crohn's disease, because it's going to make it more intense. And just having an amazing diet, cleanest diet, is not going to be enough. And then, movement, exercise is going to be big, and mindfulness. Like, she asked me if I would be open to do journaling, gratitude exercises, and all these things that I've never even thought about. And I followed through because I didn't have anything else. And I was, again, living with a colostomy bag, and I'm at this point, I'm refusing to live, but I don't know what's going to help me. Now, as we went through this journey with her for 6 months, this is now beginning of 2015, and what happened is, I didn't necessarily start feeling better, but I'm a kind of a numbers person. I want to see what's happening, and I was able to look at these two markers that I just talked about earlier, SAD rate and CRP. They start to go down. They start to go down slowly, and the month 3 or 4 came down to the levels like pretty close to the normal range, and it was quite inspiring. But I started also feeling better in the month probably 3, beginning of 4. Mm-hmm. I was being patient. I was like, okay, I'm going to follow what you said, see how it works. Now, I'm happy to go into details, perhaps maybe if you want to talk about later too, what that meant specifically, what I did. But in that journey, with that 6 months, it was like I was basically back to normal ranges. Now, what that also meant is, okay, can I now go back to my colorectal surgeon who did an operation on me? Can he put me back together, right? That's the question. And then they told me that. They said, if you have an opportunity to reduce the inflammation, there has to be no inflammation in the body for them to operate and then put me back together. So then did another colostomy and then blood markers, and they were actually surprised about the no inflammation in the system. And long story short, back to reversal surgery in 2016, and then I'm basically back together.
That's fantastic.
And it was to me, when I say life-changing moment or experience, that's what really it gave me this feeling that I had to tell it to other people. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what that meant or how am I going to do it. All I wanted to do is at least share it. Like somewhere in the online world, I created a Medium account, and I just wrote a blog post in Medium on my own page. And one thing to another, I think I was going through another workshop, actually, kind of a self-development workshop. Some of the folks there kind of pushed me to tell the story to other people, and then it led me to start a small community for people that have chronic illnesses, not just digestive diseases, but like anybody has kind of autoimmune. And then we wanted to gather these people, and then the approach would be kind of look at it holistically, right? So then that became a kind of a springboard for us to try with a good friend of mine to start a startup, basically. See if we can actually take it to the business level. I mean, the caring side is that I love helping people, and I didn't want to necessarily make money off of this at all. But what we wanted to try is, can we build a marketplace for people that have chronic illnesses, and can we connect them with integrative medicine and functional medicine doctors? Just the way that I was able to get access to these doctors in San Francisco, can we do this kind of in a scaled way, right? That was the hypothesis. We ran that about 2 years, and then the business side didn't really take off the way that we wanted to, for us to be able to raise money and then kind of scale it to nationwide. Even though we learned a lot, incredible amount of experience that we gained. But the community side was really the success of the story. People really liked some of the things that we shared in the community, and also we did events together where we talked about autoimmunity. We had our own doctors come up and then have a panel, online, offline. We've done a lot of collaboration, and that was a huge kind of gratifying experience. Which then I'll wrap it up. I know it took a long one, but it all ties together in the end. Like the story of Crohn's led me to my current job and at Vivante Health, which is a company that does it's a digital therapeutic company that basically have an app, and they do also microbiome testing with the test that people go through.
So before we jump completely into Vivante Health, because I absolutely love what you're doing with that, and I'm excited to talk about it. But I want to hear a little bit more about your story and go into some of the details of what you experienced to complete your healing journey and kind of get farther along. And then we're going to dive back into Vivante Health and the community that you've got there. So let's rewind just a little bit and talk to me about, you mentioned some of the lifestyle techniques and maybe going into detail and talking about some of those things you did during the first 6 months that you were working with your naturopathic. So tell me a little bit about what it was like to start journaling, maybe if there's some tips you have for reducing stress and some of those things that you learned that you might be able to share.
Absolutely. Great question. Great. Happy to share. Again, these are what worked for me. These are my kind of take on things. But overall, I had to approach it kind of a mindset that I think called like the growth mindset. I've been hearing this lately a lot, instead of being a fixed mindset that, okay, I have this. This is my capacity. I cannot do anything more. Instead of that, can we think about growth mindset? And that whole experience was kind of brought the growth mindset effort, which basically it is okay, how do we look at it holistically that helps every kind of segments of my approach viable? And then this was basically 4 pillars to be more specific. So, pillar 1 was nutrition. Nutrition is again, it included the specific diets. At the height of the Crohn's disease and inflammation, we had to do a specific diet that basically I start with an elimination diet. So eliminate dairy, gluten, sugar, and main triggers, probably even nightshades. For me, after doing a stool test, that was kind of evident. Some of the bacteria was triggered by the nightshades type of foods, and did very kind of a clean and kind of soupy and broth-based diet, which I was actually pretty open to, because I like the bone broth. I've done a lot of those as I was kind of trying to heal the gut, and as we kind of progress in this elimination diet, which is basically You do about a month on that diet. You avoid all these main trigger foods, like I said, gluten, dairy, um, and the sugar. And from that perspective, you start to reintroduce some of the foods later on. And then that's what I was doing, and not being like sugar, I was trying to avoid at all times. And when I say sugar, there are certain things that turn into sugar, like bread and pastas and rice. And so that try to avoid all that from the get-go, right? Let's try to like clean the gut as soon as possible, as cleanly as possible. And from as far as reintroducing things, so I could cut out some of certain things for a month. Now, how can we rebuild the gut flora, right? Gut lining. How do we kind of help that part? So there was a couple of efforts in that specific segment. I had a lot of sauerkraut. I had a lot of kimchi. These are the good probiotics that your body, your bacteria will need, and it will actually kind of help overall balance of the microbiome. And I also had kefir, which is a dairy, but it's a fermented one. So it's actually part of the good stuff. And also homemade yogurt. I was making my own yogurt. So I had a lot of those. When I say a lot, I was just basically having maybe a spoon or two or forkful of the sauerkraut. So it's very kind of a consistent, but like little amounts, right? So we don't want to over inoculate the body with that.
Because those foods are potent. The home fermented foods, they have a lot of good bacteria that are they're a lot more potent than what you'd probably get out of a regular probiotic bottle. So
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. Their survival rate, as what I research, is a lot more to Stephanie. Like when as it goes through your body, the live bacteria are a lot more viable, I guess, in these when you eat them in that form. So the nutrition piece was basically, a lot of the bone broth was also kind of a part of this, like I said. And as I kind of went through the month 2, month 3, I did not reintroduce a lot of foods, but I was able to kind of get into the vegetables that are cooked. I was trying to make sure that the raw ones may trigger some discomfort, so I was trying to cook them. So I had a lot of cooked vegetables. As far as the meat versus vegetables, kind of, I did not necessarily have tried all veggie or all kind of meat type of stuff. What I generally believe, I guess I grew up in the Mediterranean side of the world. The Mediterranean diet is something big for me. I like that, and also there's a lot of research on that it's a kind of a balanced diet. So you have about maybe 70% vegetables and dishes that are in you eat it seasonally, and then you still have your chickens and grass-fed beef, and you have your eggs. So I do a lot of those I use olive oil instead of butter and things like that. So I've been kind of a fan of that, and I was doing that pretty much through my mom. I wasn't cooking, but that's what I was eating when I was growing up. But then probably I didn't do that when I was going to college and living by myself in New York. So those are the times probably going out of the whack. But kind of getting back to this healing journey, I started doing that. I was trying to cook at home and then kind of follow through that. So,
and is that pretty much what you follow now these days? It's kind of that
I do.
Mediterranean approach.
Yeah, I do. I'm a big believer in that one. Again, it's not a kind of a diet that, okay, I got to do this for 2 months. I got to like whatever my motivation is. Not that. It's more of a lifestyle diet, right?
Exactly.
So I do enjoy cooking it. It doesn't have to be restrictive. Personally, I don't believe a diet should be restrictive either way. If you don't, if you think that there is something in there that it doesn't work with your body, absolutely don't eat that. There's no reason for to eat that. But sometimes we don't know, of course. But a lot of times, what I come across in the med diet, and this also ties to the anxiety and stress part of things as well. There's a lot of research that shows it reduces depression. I'm sorry, the anxiety and stress. And from that perspective, one of my other goals, which I'll talk second, nutrition was the first pillar. Second is the kind of the stress and the mindset, right? Like, how do we cope up with this mentally? How do I not have, we're all open here, like we have, urgency to go to bathrooms and stuff. How do I kind of get ready in my own mind, try to limit that? Because, it wasn't coincidence that I don't think like 5 minutes right before an important meeting, I feel like I have to go to the bathroom. So how do I kind of not necessarily eliminate that, or hopefully eliminate it, but I was going through the kind of the search. Why is that happening, and how do I kind of make that part a little bit more, balanced, like that, so that I don't have to rush things. Maybe it's more kind of balanced. So I did a lot of meditation, and I still do, and breathing exercises. And again, right before a meeting, it's hard to do a meditation maybe, but I would do like a 3 to 5 minutes breathing exercise. This is just very simple, not your heavy breathing style, but more like just kind of a deep breath, and then just holding it for a second or two, and then letting it go. Doing that for like 3 to 5 minutes. And then it actually helps me when I join that call or a meeting, if I'm presenting or whatever, it actually calms things down for me, and then it reduces the stress. So that helped a lot. I know a lot of people that have IBD, they do go through a lot of stress in their lives. And again, I started talking about stress back in being in the financial district and the financial crisis. And I know it doesn't work
stressful.
for me. So it is. Yeah, it's just so I gotta eliminate that, or at least reduce it as much as possible. Again, talking to the doctor, naturopathic doctor, she was saying that you should do meditation, and also journaling helped me a lot. Specifically, more on the I was kind of being focusing on the gratefulness or the gratitude side. I think it was big. Just appreciate what I have, and from family to my wife, and all that part was kind of helping me reduce that stress. So that was the second piece, was also huge, as much as the nutrition piece. The mindset was incredible. Now, third pillar for me was something that I always wanted to do, but it was for that 10 years or even maybe 9 years that I was going through, was the movement, the exercise. I physically was debilitated. I played soccer all my life, and I couldn't anymore. It was just, forget about soccer, I couldn't just go for a proper walk. So then how do I incorporate this? If I get a little bit better, can I start having some exercise in an ongoing basis? I know you're big on fitness, Stephanie. So I was trying to do that myself. I'm like trying to go at the very least small baby steps. Can we just go for a walk, and then kind of maybe jog a little bit? And I was able to, in that 6 months, even afterwards, I was able to, probably in a year, I was able to play soccer when I pick up games here in the Bay Area. And it was just, and that felt like, all right, it reminded me of the days that I was not sick and when I was playing soccer, and then also gave me confidence that I'm back. So that was huge, like kind of a more of an emotional thing, that like, okay, mentally, yes, I'm now physically also playing a sport that I wanted to do. And that was huge. Yeah. I mean, in the last part, I'll wrap it up. The things that also doctor said was big on is the social part, the connectedness with people, and then being open, telling the stories, and also just not necessarily about Crohn's, but just being connected to people. I'm a kind of a social person in general, but in that period, I was completely kind of closed off. I didn't want to tell anybody. Felt like the stigma and all these things. I'm glad a lot of people are now, more forward and more kind of open. I love that. I wish I was doing that in the beginning. But again, these are some things that I learned. But that fourth pillar, being able to open and tell these stories, and then socializing with people, whatever that is. And I think it's huge, being able to cope up with Crohn's.
We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be right back with the rest of our interview. Hey everyone! Many of you know how much I love the Intestinal Fortitude supplements. Ever since discovering these products when I interviewed the founder, creator, and Crohn's warrior, Will Jenkins, for this podcast, I've been using their probiotic, gut lining repair, and anti-inflammatory. These products were developed by a Crohn's warrior specifically for those of us with IBD. And for me, they have become an important part of keeping my symptoms, including mucus and inflammation, at bay. I truly love these products, and now I'm excited to let you know that if you use code CFF10, that's CFF like Crohn's Fitness Food, you can receive 10% off your order. Visit crohnsfitnessfood.com/IF. And if you want to hear more about the creator, Will Jenkins, be sure to listen to episode 11 of this podcast. And now, back to the show. I love how the pillars kind of play off of each other, where once you're able to kind of control that stress, and then you're able to start moving again. And once you're moving and doing the things that you used to be able to do, I mean, that's a stress reliever in and of itself. And then just once you're feeling good and being able to socialize and get back out. And it really is, I don't think it can be understated how important it is to look at the whole self, just like what you're talking about and the way that your naturopathic doctor got you to do by going down this path.
Yeah, it's been a bless to not only just having met her, also going through this journey of finding it, but and like anything else in life, once we have a little bit of confidence on achieving some of these things, and you want to do more, you want to kind of explore more, and I think that's just a natural reaction, because I was ready for it. I wanted to get better. I wanted to kind of do things for myself, and I was able to do it, luckily. So. And
at that point, you went completely off of the medications and just truly down the naturopathic path, correct? And that's what you've been doing since about 2015, 16?
I basically, I stopped taking medication when that time, the beginning of 2015, when I started the naturopathic medicine doctor. The reason I stopped is because it wasn't working for me. There was no reason to take it. And I just wanted to try, see if this route works. And then it did. And no medication ever since that day. I actually probably haven't taken any medication ever since. And what's also interesting in that is for people that have success with let's say Humira, and definitely don't stop. And if you want to do lifestyle changes, continue. You can do them both. My recommendation will be to see if any of these lifestyle changes, if you want to do, then if you start feeling better, because then you can say, okay, maybe I can taper off. You can take it less often. Those are obviously the people's choices, but I would recommend that, doing it in conjunction. Overall, I think as a lifestyle, if you want to pursue more optimal health and kind of longevity in your life, and those are the things that also as I was researching. This is not just trying to live a symptom-free life, which is good. Obviously, I'm looking for that, but also I was hoping that later on, like right now, I'm getting to that level. I'm hopefully I'm pushing it to the more optimal side. See if I can optimize my body, doing all these 4 pillars in a kind of a balanced way. Now, it's not the easiest thing. I just had a newborn, so it's like your life kind of goes back and forth, stressful time. But
we are humans.
We're humans. Yeah, you just have to kind of accept, but understanding that, I was trying to see how I can incorporate that to my weekly schedule. How I can have one of these pillars kind of on an ongoing basis if I can. It's not easy. It may be very limited, but if I'm feeding my boy, can I listen to podcasts that help me kind of understand a little bit more about these gut health, for example, right? So those are some of the things I try to do. And then, definitely the approach will be this kind of a holistic approach. Definitely helps, I think, overall.
I think that's great advice and just a great approach. And I love that you recommend, if someone's listening and medication is helping them, to stay on that, but don't be afraid to incorporate some of those lifestyle things that can help. Finding that stress reduction and just the mindfulness that will help in your everyday life. These are things that anybody and really everybody should start incorporating because they do make such a difference.
Exactly. Totally agree.
So was it that 4th pillar, the socialness and connectedness, was it that 4th pillar that kind of what prompted you to start that Medium blog and then start that community. Take me back down that path now and tell me a little bit about that
You're
story.
you're absolutely right. You're spot on. So part of the effort on being more socially connected, and all I really wanted to do was be more open about it. And then if I come across somebody, if they ask me something, I'll tell. And then kind of instead of just closing the subject. But then yes, that again, the workshop that I did for a month, was an online workshop, and the team that I was assigned to. They were pushing me to kind of be more open in public, and then kind of posting things and publishing. And with that, yes, I wanted to kind of get like a back and forth with people at one point, not necessarily through the Medium article, but like, can I tell other people, and can we form that community? And that's what we did. The company was called Sync. At the time, this was 2017. We just wanted to help people. We shared interesting articles, and then we're trying to create a trust between people that have kind of a chronic illness, and then can we look at it from the lens of kind of a overall gut health, and then just to reach as many people as we can. And we did. We had about 10,000 people, I think, overall. And again, the message that we want to convey was also, hey, there's this thing called integrative medicine, functional medicine. Just kind of create more awareness about it, because still I don't think it's that prevalent across nation. And there's more efforts right now. I'm hearing more people, more even doctors are taking that approach, and regular MDs that went to the medical school, they are trying the functional medicine certification, and so there's a lot of that effort, which is huge. I love that. But part of it was we were also creating awareness about this notion of root cause analysis, and then understanding what's happening in the body, and then kind of starting things from the gut, all that stuff. So, and so I told you about the business side. No need to get in there, but the community piece was huge, Stephanie, because, and I felt the kind of I don't want to use the word calling, but I felt that I needed to do something there. And in my background, work-wise, I was in banking. That's what I studied. I studied economics, and then I was in banking. And later on, I'd get into the tech world, being in San Francisco and being in the advertising space. So I was not doing anything related to healthcare, not at all. But this kind of entrepreneurial journey started with this community. It was basically community-led marketplace. So that kind of inspired me to go to that route without letting go of my job. See if I can push this forward. See if we can get things moving. But at the bottom of everything, like I felt the calling that I need to help these people that have similar conditions, and I whatever way I can, I wanted to help them, and this was the best thing I could tell the story about, and talk about naturopathic medicine, and help them kind of be aware of it. If they choose to see a doctor, we were able to provide it to them. The different types of doctors that we had in our platform. So so that was the community piece that definitely ties to the fourth pillar. Absolutely right.
And that's kind of, so your community piece was with Sync in 2017. And is the community piece, is that what has now evolved and what you've brought into Vivante Health? Talk a little bit about that, like your transition, if Sync is still there, and then maybe what Vivante Health is and what that new community or how much of it came over.
Right. It basically indirectly happened that way. So I had a chance to meet the CEO of Vivante Health, came on, and as I was kind of growing my own community at Sync, we were introduced by a common friend, and then just what was interesting is he really liked what I was doing in that space, kind of building a community. He believed in that one. He believes in human touch when you actually go for a change or kind of managing a condition. And yeah, we can talk about Vivante separately, but I think our community was able to attract some interest amongst Vivante. Vivante was formed in 2016. So as I was kind of growing my community, that was something that we kind of exchanged knowledge. And at the end of my time at Sync, I wanted to take some time off, and then I actually let go of my other job too. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Right around that time, basically, this is towards the end of last year, I had a chance to connect with Vivante team, and yeah, I started basically to manage their community and build a community for them from the ground up, kind of directly with people that are outside of the Vivante application. Can we actually talk about gut health in general? Can we talk about creating more awareness about microbiome testing, which is a stool test that people do to get and analyze their the bacteria levels in their gut? And can we do offer them a personalized nutrition plan depending on the results that we get from the gut microbiome test? So that was kind of a company that the reason I also wanted to join them was I believe they do close the loop as far as doing a diagnosis and also recommending a personalized nutrition. For example, bone broth, I gave you the example of bone broth, it may not be necessarily good for everybody, right? So there are some things that I read, okay, well, great. So then perhaps certain food types, like some vegetables could be a trigger for some people, even though it may seem like it's a good thing. So can a microbiome test based results can lead to a personalized nutrition. That's what Vivante does. And then they kind of handhold you through the care team to help people in that, the members of that group. They handhold you to do a specific dietary plan. They check on you and they do all kinds of analysis afterwards, even you've done the microbiome test and started the nutritional plan. So and you do that all through an app. Really interesting concept, actually. So, and yeah, so my piece of the puzzle is, can I build a community for Vivante utilizing the products that we have, but definitely being in the outside and just try and reach out to people and to build that community. And part of my goal personally to trying to keep this group as diverse as possible. I know you're there too, Stephanie. I appreciate you joining our community, which is fantastic because it gives us my goal is to bring diversity in thought. And we have researchers, we have naturopathic doctors, we have caregivers, we have patients, we have all kinds of backgrounds in this community, and it's very small right now. I'll be honest, it's not. We just started literally end of December.
Yeah, I was gonna say you literally just started.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna say like we made it or anything like that, but what I'm trying to convey is the vision that we have. Can this be a place of comfort, trust, generosity for people to share knowledge, insights, stories, and experiences? Not necessarily advice. We don't want to advise in our platform, but can we actually help others, right? In this medium from the lens of a gut kind of gut first effort, right? And we have to obviously, and the people don't have to necessarily have digestive issues. Your gut health could impact anxiety, depression. We talked about that, and there's all kinds of other metabolic syndromes that are tied to gut. But at the moment, the company also is looking at the kind of digestive diseases as the kind of first point of attack, if you will. And yeah, I'm super excited to be part of their mission. It certainly aligns with my personal mission as well. And so far, yeah, I'm pretty excited about building this community for them.
Yeah, I got to say, I'm super excited as well. Just you invited me to be a part of it, and so I've been a part of the community maybe a week or two now, and it's just wonderful. I love what you're building because I've mentioned it before on my podcast, but it's the stories and experiences of other people throughout my own personal IBD journey that I
Mm-hmm.
truly believe has really gotten me to where I'm at today, of just being able to read the insight or just the ideas and the things that other people have done. It really does give you a space to where you don't feel alone and you feel like there
Mm-hmm.
are a lot of options out there. So it's so important to be able to have a place where you can share those stories and experiences. And that's why I absolutely love the community that you're building and just the diversity that you have in it as well.
I appreciate it. No, I appreciate it. I second what exactly you said, and it helps a lot. And probably I didn't touch as much. That helped also me uh, as I was going through that journey. Yes, online, I was able to actually go through some of the support groups to actually kind of share some of my experiences. And again, that's part of the making it more socially open about these things. And then it helped me to hear other people's stories.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're trying to be more specific and more kind of shared a lot of insights. And um, yeah, hopefully we can make it even more diverse. But there is a lot of interest so far. People that are trying to come into the community, and I had amazing chat today actually. So it's really exciting for me to kind of lead that effort, but also it is about the group. Ideally, it should be a group that actually interacts themselves and kind of
Mm-hmm.
pose questions, and hopefully we get to those levels too. But at the moment, we're trying to kind of get it off the ground and have people to kind of introduce to each other and then kind of meet, feel that trust basically. So
Now, if someone is interested, if they're listening to this podcast and they want to be a part of the group, how is it that they can join or request to join? What's their process?
yes, great question. If they do want to join Vivante community, they can reach out to me. Probably the best way is through Twitter. I'm at Aras Toker, at Aras Toker on Twitter, and then and happy to share the link. But for the record, the link is community.vivantehealth.com, and then you can see the landing page there with all the information about the community. If they choose to join, they can request to join from that link. Again, it's community.vivantehealth.com.
Perfect. I'll put the link in the show notes as well so that people will have
Perfect.
that available too. So, is there anything else you want to share about Vivante Health or maybe what's coming down in the future or anything more with the community
Mhm.
that you want to talk about?
I think definitely I can kind of tie those two questions that you asked. Uh, what's really interesting about the microbiome testing? It's been it's been pretty much around for the last 10 years or so. In the last 5 years, it was incredible. The sequencing efforts have been a lot a lot more efficient, and they're getting into the even the specific genomic levels, which quite exciting from somebody that I've done stool tests as I was going through this journey in the very beginning, and I was able to see the change in my own bacteria levels. And
Mm-hmm.
I think for a company that uh, our technology is pretty robust to be able to offer this to folks to get them understand what's happening in their body. I think it's fascinating. Now the future is super exciting, I think, and then what I'm looking forward to is, and there are ways to maybe improve the timing of these tests, and it usually takes about about 4 weeks to get the whole thing back as far as the analysis. Hopefully, some of these numbers will go down, but also the pricing of some of these things that are consumer facing would go down. And I was hearing in another podcast I was listening to, when it first came out, it took about $10,000 to do one stool test, and now
Wow.
yeah, it was coming down to around 100 and a couple $100. And now the Vivante one is specifically right now is business to business kind of a solution. In other words, like basically through the employers of your company, you'll be able to access this. And if that employer is not offering yet, we can reach out for on behalf of you guys. But at the same time, what we're doing is we're doing a very small group of people that want to take this microbiome test, and if they do have an IBD diagnosis, we can certainly get them that free test, and then we can do the analysis for them. So that's something that we're putting together as we speak, which is exciting. But yeah, in general, I'm super excited about the space. I think overall, in the lens of digital therapeutics, using tools like apps to be able to kind of change people's lifestyles and manage their conditions and perhaps even reverse the conditions, and that's amazing to me. And I love when the technology meets with human touch, and then I think the magic happens then. I'm part of that experience myself. Like what I experienced was that, and I love to be the proponent of that. I tell that story to others through our community and other means, basically.
I think it's wonderful. I love the combination of the technology and the human touch as well. And it's you guys are just in the space at the right time. I think there's so much ahead that's coming with the microbiome and just bringing all these different things together. It's a pretty exciting time and pretty neat to be on this side of it and watching it start to grow and really become something.
Absolutely. I think one more thing I would add, Stephanie, as you were saying, I thought about there are so many people that I'm interacting these days, and uh, they have a disease running right now, let's say Crohn's or colitis, and
Hmm.
they are more open these days. I feel like to look at other opportunities. Again, not necessarily giving
Hmm.
up something completely, going cold cut and then trying something new, but like, okay, this lifestyle change, can this really work? And does that make sense? Actually, that does make sense. And if you look at it from the holistic perspective, and people are realizing that yes, it takes effort, like anything else in life. You got to put the work in. So I think the feedback that I'm getting from the interactions that I had through Sync and even Vivante recently, it's been encouraging to see if we can scale it with the technology like we talked about, but the human
Hmm.
touch of actually hand holding a little bit, kind of telling those stories, caring for them as they kind of embark on that journey. I think that's going to be super exciting. I'm kind of pumped about that.
Yeah, I definitely am too. So if people, you mentioned your Twitter, and then we mentioned the joining the Vivante community. If people want to keep up with you and follow you a little bit more online, are there any other places that you would recommend people go?
Online, I would say probably Medium will be another place. I do post sometimes, not that often, but we can put that in the show notes. Probably, I'll
Yep,
send that to you
definitely
separately.
will.
And yeah, Twitter will be the best way as far as interaction and kind of if they want to send a tweet or a direct message, they're welcome to do
Mhm.
that.
Perfect. I'll put all your links in the show notes there. And so we covered a lot today, just with your story and the journey that you've been on, and then talking about the new community and this new venture that you're going on with this IBD and gut health community. So, is there anything that I didn't ask that you did want to share with the community
No,
as we wrap up?
I think your questions were great. You made it more dialogue instead of just like you're asking me questions. I think I like
Hmm.
that part. Thanks for the progression of those questions was great. I think, and yeah, I mean, overall, for anybody listening to this, I wanted to thank you, Stephanie, first of all, for starting this. I know there's quite a bit of people actually you interviewed as I looked at your website. I'm glad you're doing this and keep on doing it. And I'm glad you're part of our community as well. On top of that, I think for the people that are listening again, if they're thinking about, oh, this guy is talking about these lifestyle changes, I know it's a lot of stuff. It might not work with my busy schedule. I got a crazy lifestyle. And don't think about uh, everything at once. And this is something that I learned, and think about everything in baby steps. And a lot of the behavior change, there's a lot of behavior science that I was able to kind of come up and research about. Changing behavior is very difficult, even though you may want to, but you somehow you feel the block, or you have some kind of a challenge that will stops you from doing that. whenever that happens, and you have to kind of think about the minimum viable way of doing it. The easiest analogy I always remember is if you want somebody to do a floss their teeth, don't ask them to do all 32 teeth at once. That's not going to happen. Well, it may, but ask them to do one teeth in 1 week, and as long as they do every day, right? So, and then hopefully they kind of add every week that they go, and that's the analogy, and that hopefully it stays with some of the people. But that's what helped me, and I think even though we talked about these 4 pillars, and then kind of tackling it from different angles. You can start with one. You can just try a small version of it, or whatever works for you. It doesn't have to be those, but just breaking it down to the minimum viable way that works for you is the best thing I can recommend. And I hope everybody has success in their journey. And I'm super grateful that you invited me for your podcast. Thank you for that.
Well, that is great advice, and I am very grateful to you for joining me on this podcast and for sharing your story. So thank you so much again, Aras. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Stephanie.
I've dedicated most of my life to fitness and health, but as I've grown older and felt the effects of fatigue as I've battled Crohn's, I no longer want to spend hours in the gym every day, which is how I first stumbled across the Cellar Size Rebounder. It's become the backbone of my fitness routine these days, giving me the ability to tailor my workouts from gentle movement to intense jumping that literally activates every cell in the body. And the best part is, it only takes 10 minutes a day for an incredible workout. Find out for yourself what a difference Cellar Size can make in your health by visiting crownsfitnessfood.com/Cellar Size. Thank you for listening to the Crohn's Fitness Food Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have an IBD story, either as a patient or a family member that you'd like to share as a guest on this podcast, or if you have a topic you'd like to hear about, send me an email at crownsfitnessfood@gmail.com. If you'd like to learn more about me and my Crohn's journey, follow me on Instagram using @Crohn'sFitnessFood, or visit my blog for in-depth articles about my struggles and victories with Crohn's through diet, fitness, and lifestyle at www.crownsfitnessfood.com. And finally, remember, be strong, be grateful, and be the warrior that you are.